All right, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Allen Ulrich, here with Bob Rose. Not so tanned and certainly not as rested, Bob Rose. How
Yeah,
are you
not
doing
even
tonight, Bob?
not even close to either one. But I'm doing pretty well. Happy because it's still summer. We still got probably at least 2 months of summer weather left. Yet there's football in the air, even if it doesn't count quite yet. It's still football.
Yeah. The 2020-2025 season kicks off this Sunday with preseason in Los Angeles. In fact, the team will be flying to Los Angeles tomorrow. So next week, tomorrow, they will stay through the game and then stay the following week. So I don't know how much more of training camp is going to be open to the public. I have to go look that up again. I think we're getting to the end of the time that we're going to see guys, have things open for the public. I think right after.
Alan, I don't know if it's on your end, but your sound just cut out completely. You have no sound whatsoever.
All right, y'all should be able to hear me now.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. For whatever reason, my mic just cut out on me, and it was on mute, and then it went to the iPad mic, and now it should be fine. Anyway, I was going to say, yeah, a lot of things hitting the 50th anniversary this week. The Superdome being the latest. And kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, I guess, is some good and bad memories, I guess, of the Superdome. Bob, I know I've asked you this before, but what was your first game, or what was your first time going in the Superdome?
1984, summer 1984. The original USFL, the New Orleans Breakers versus the Birmingham Stallions, led by former Pittsburgh Steeler backup quarterback Cliff Stout. I'll be honest with you. Yes, sir. I'll be honest with you, Alan. I don't remember who won that game because I was so in awe of the entire I 11 years old, just so in awe, of the Superdome, its surroundings, the fact that I was at a professional football game. It was also my first professional football game. It's such a tremendous experience for a team that, as a little guy, younger than Will, I really enjoyed watching. And the limited times that you could in Western Pennsylvania, the West Chandler, Chuck Muncie, Tony Galbraith Saints teams in the late 70s, and just to be in the Superdome, that and that same summer We spent the majority of the summer down there, my grandparents and I, because we went to the World's Fair that year was in New Orleans. So we took a tour of the Superdome too, separate from that USFL game, actually before. And like I said, just the building itself. For a young kid like myself, who was such a big fan of football, from a very, very early age, just made such a tremendous impact for me as a person.
Well, so my first game, Saints game, I don't really remember. I want to say it was in 1974 against the Dolphins, but I do not remember the exact game. But it was at Old Tulane Stadium. And I knew, even as a kid, that they were getting ready to move to a dome stadium. So, and when you're a little kid, everything's big, okay? So, I'm looking at the water storage tanks for the Sewage and Water Board outside on the way that we were past this, on the way to Tulane Stadium on Claiborne Avenue. And I'm like going, is that where the Saints are going to play? Is that where the Saints are going to play? Because I know it's a dome. And that's a big dome to me. I went to the first game, or I went to a game in '75. I do know my dad took me to that, and we sat. The seats don't exist anymore, but it was called the opera seats back then. They were next to the scoreboard. They've taken those out in one of the renovations they've done recently. But yeah, they were these seats that hung over the three levels to the dome. There's the terrace at the top, the loge was the middle, and the plaza is the base. And they still kind of have those names, but now the loge is like the club area, and then they have different names for that section because those are the best seats. So our seats kind of hung over the loge. Well, this is how New Orleans used to think back then. You had this one railing that was about 3 feet up, and it went around. So when you were standing, you could hold on to it. And we sat right there in front of that railing at the very first row of those opera seats. And they had no wire or anything like that. So you could set your drink on. You can see where this is going. You can set your drink or your popcorn or anything on this little concrete ledge that this bar sat in. And people start jumping up and down, getting excited, and somebody in the loge is getting a shower, whether it's a full beer, it's a thing of popcorn, peanuts, you name it. So yeah, it didn't take them long to figure out, maybe we need to put something around here so you can't set your drink down on this. And the other thing about it is, okay, for you guys looking at home, now you see the gondola that's hanging in the center of the field. That was for replays. The ad, or the way this was sold, it was now every seat is essentially a 50-yard line seat. You can look up at that gondola and you can see the action as if you're watching your TV. And when the regular play was going, and you can see it in this picture here, when the regular play was going, they have this blue screen, or this screen here with the Saints helmet, and then the replay would come on afterwards, and you would see the play, and it wasn't that sharp of an image. It's like the old TVs, the old projector TVs with the 3 colors that get projected from the back onto the screen, so it wasn't really that sharp. But I do remember when the Saints would be in a TV timeout, you would get a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And anyone who's been in the Dome is going to remember this. I know my brother and I do. And they would play this commercial, and you'd see, the what they would specialize in, steaks, of course, and all these other things. Well, the thing about Ruth's Chris is they would deliver the steak to you on this steaming cooking plate, so your steak is still sizzling. And they would always say that at the end, the sizzling steak, and and it would be so loud in the dome because the dome was empty. But it'd be so loud in the dome. You're like, oh, God, that's loud. But yeah, Oakland art, jewelry, Joe Gemelli suits. Those were the common ads that you'd see during TV timeouts in the dome. And that gondola eventually went away because obviously the technology got to be better. They started putting up at the top. They first had the Diamond Vision screen that you see in a lot of 80s Saints highlights. And then now we have the huge screen with the scoreboard and everything else back then. But the interesting thing about that gondola, once they took those screens out, they raised it. And I don't know if you remember this or not. Back in 1991, do you remember the guy, the fireworks display in the Superdome, and the gondola? They had like a brace at the bottom, and it caught on fire. Did you know about this?
Yep. I actually thought it was earlier than 1991. I thought.
Bob, I lost your sound.
How about now?
See, this is what happens when you plug in these mics and these Apple technologies. They don't work that well. All right, you back?
How about now?
Can't hear you still.
All right, I'm cutting out. I'll be back.
Okay, he's gonna come out and come back in. Anyway, oh, look, trivia question right behind us, everybody. That is the first win in the Superdome by the New Orleans Saints. 1975, Saints versus the Green Bay Packers. First team they beat in the Dome on a Rich Zorro last-second kick. Yeah, that's how bad that team was. John North's last year. He got fired midway through that season. They only won one game after that. They went 2-14, 2-12 that year. 2-12. Bad offense. Barely scored. They only broke the 20-point barrier 2 times all season, and they averaged about 8 or 9 points a game because they would score either 7 or 14 points. So they averaged 8 or 9 points a game, and that season was horrible. Anyway, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but yeah, in 1991 they had a fireworks display. The bottom of the gondola where they had the railing that caught on fire, and they had
now I can't hear you.
Burlap to try and put the fire out. And part of the burlap caught on fire and dropped onto the field. And John Madden and Pat Summerall did the game. It was against the 49ers. And John Madden put him on the All-Madden team because he's like, man, you got to be a brave man to go hang on this thing that's dangling in the middle of the field to try and put out this fire. So it was the last fireworks display in the dome. All right, Bob, are you back?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Still no sound, Bob.
God damn it.
Okay.
How about now?
You can hear Bob? Hemisphere? Can you hear me? Because I've got my mic and I can hear myself through this.
Yeah, I whatever it is, Alan, I think it's on your end.
Okay, Hemisphere, you can hear me. And Bob, I can't hear you, but Hemisphere evidently can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right, let's see. I have no sound now. Oh, wait, no, that's old. Let me see something here. All right. Bob, I'm going to pop out for a minute and see if it's me and something going on with me. I don't know why I can't hear you.
Okay.
All right. Bob, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's weird. I don't know why I can't hear you. That makes no sense. All right, I'm going to try and jump all the way out. I would jump right back in. All right, I'm back. Um, Bob, any problems? You can hear me fine? I wish I knew what the heck is.
How
Oh,
about now?
you came
Okay.
back now. Okay, now I
Okay.
can hear you. All right,
Cool.
good. Now we're back. I don't know what was going on. I really don't. So I was asking about the 1991 playoff game, and not playoff game, but 1991 game with the 49ers in the fireworks display. Do you remember that game? Do you know what that game?
Yeah. That's the piece where the game where the pieces of the Superdome caught on fire and dropped onto the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do remember it. Well, I remember the incident, but for some reason, I was thinking that it was like the early '80s before Jim Mora and even Tom Benson. So I have my years wrong, but I remember the incident. And it's very famously shown on NFL films when they take jabs at the old at the old Saints,
Mm-hmm.
even though 91's a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah. It was just an amazing thing, and they ended up never doing another fireworks display again. But the weird thing about it is they used to allow smoking in the dome.
Yes.
Now you couldn't smoke in in your seat. You had to go smoke on the concourse.
Oh.
So the interesting thing about that was, as Saints games go, you can imagine by the fourth quarter there was just this haze in the whole upper level. It was like the fog bowl, but it was all cigarette smoke at the top of the dome. So yeah, it's funny that they can't sit smoke in your seat, but you can go smoke in the concourse and just blow the smoke everywhere. So, one of the other things too is, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we went through the audio issues, but because and also hemisphere is a really good question I want us to talk about, but I started going because I lived in New Orleans. I started going to the Saints games in '75 in the Dome, and I can remember, and those of you may not remember if you haven't been in the Dome until much later. Bob, you would have still seen these seats, but in the '70s, everything was 70s colors in that dome.
Mm-hmm.
You used to have the wild carpet on the walls and the stucco and the ramps with the carpeting all over the place and everything.
Yep.
My brother and I would run up and down that thing and try and run each other into the walls on the turns and things like that. But part of the reason why the seats were colored the way they were, and they were like plaid and purple and gold stripes and things like that, is because at the time on regular TV, not HD TV like we have today, but on regular TV, they wanted those multicolored seats so it wouldn't look like the dome was empty. it would look like there was people sitting in those seats on regular TV. And it's it's ridiculous to think about today, but that's exactly how they thought when they were building the dome. Because I don't know if you noticed this or not, the dome has really, really close seats to the stadium, to the field. So you can really see a lot of people. And that's something I enjoy looking at today. Like when, Tracy Porter picks off Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game, you see that on NFL films in slow motion. You can see the wave of people who just realized he picked him off. And it's, you really don't see that much in other stadiums because people are so far away from the action. Let's see. Everett led Saints played Panthers. Saints lost the game 2019. Boys, that sounds typical. But yeah, where's my boy John Butler? He needs to be in this part of this conversation. I've seen Big Ben. I've seen the no call. Now wasn't at the no call game, but I've seen Hartley's kick. I've seen the punt over Russell Slavin's head, Mike Lansford's kick. Just a lot of bad memories, but a lot of good memories. The Jazz, New Orleans Jazz, also debuted in the Superdome, and that was part of the selling point to get the NBA to expand here was going to be the Superdome and being able to play in this arena.
Yeah,
but it was so big, it swallowed the court. And of course, when they played the Final Fours and so forth, they hosted those games. They figured out a better way to lay out the basketball court. So now it looks, Michael Jordan, when he won his championship there, it looked like a basketball arena. It didn't like this giant football arena with a basketball court in the middle. Okay, so Hemisphere is asking about the QB competition. What do you make of it? The local media saying Rattler is winning the race. Shuck is getting better, but we're struggling at camp.
I would say that's pretty accurate. And I would say that that's probably what we should expect at this point. Rattler, while not a seasoned veteran, Rattler is a veteran. He's been in the NFL a year. He's played in NFL games, several of them, nearly half a season. So if Spencer Rattler isn't ahead of Tyler Shuck in terms of just understanding the NFL game, let alone what an NFL offense, then Spencer Rattler needs to get on with his next career. Simply put. Of course Rattler is going to be ahead of Shuck at this point. How far ahead is just a matter of opinion. And, I think we'll be able to see for sure how far ahead Rattler is over Shuck when the team plays the Chargers this weekend. I lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, well, they had 120 play scrimmage on Sunday, and Rattler started the game. Took them down to the red zone, struggled in the red zone. They ended up having to settle for a field goal. Shuck goes down with the twos, goes 8 for 8, scores a touchdown. Rattler goes back out there, does some things. I think he threw an interception. I think Shuck threw 2. The way you have to look at this quarterback competition is, to me at least, is like you said, Rattler should be ahead because he has an actual year of experience under his belt. Even though it's a new offense, he has already gone through the whole no one's open. You got to throw people open. You have to anticipate. You have to make the throws. You have to do those things. Whereas Shuck is still in this game is so fast. Nobody's open. I don't quite know what I'm doing out here yet. That kind of thing. So I think Rattler is ahead, but I think, like I said off air, I think the idea is for Rattler to probably start in the beginning with the idea we're bringing Chuck along slowly, and eventually we're going to put him in. It may not be week 1, but it might be week 5, might be week 4. Don't know. We really don't know yet, but it's a year-long evaluation. This is not like the last quarterback battle we had was really between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. It's not quite like that where people have started games and 2 veterans are competing and the best veteran win. This is typical of a rookie quarterback, and their plan always was to get Chuck ready, but have somebody start if he wasn't yet. If this was Derek Carr still on this team, Derek Carr would clearly be the guy starting.
Yes.
With the idea you're going to play Chuck at some point, and that's probably why Carr wanted out of here so badly, because that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to start and be the no questions asked, unconditional starter, and that wasn't the plan.
Yeah, so, and people that are already knocking or have been knocking the Chuck pick from day one. This is 11 days of practice, folks. 11. That's the drop in a bucket. Were you an expert in your job, in your new job after 11 days? Did you know everything that there was to know? Absolutely not. My wife Lauren is nodding her head yes. So she was the exception.
Yes.
But to your point, Alan, and we've talked about this since the pick was made. You Brendan, and myself. Essentially, Chuck is a first-round pick. I mean, you're talking the 40th overall choice, the third quarterback selected. Third quarterback selected.
Yes, third.
So of course, he's going to see playing time. The only way he wouldn't see starts, probably significant starts, is if Rattler does beat him out to start the season, and we all acknowledge that that's a possibility. And all of a sudden, Rattler is playing lights out football, and the Saints are playoff contenders. If both those things are happening simultaneously, Rattler's playing lights out and the Saints are in playoff contention, then Kellen Moore would be an absolute moron to make a quarterback change at that point. But I don't expect any of us think that both of those things are going to happen. So Chuck is going to get his chance, most likely before the midseason point. But again, and we all acknowledged from day one that there was a pretty strong possibility that Spencer Rattler would start the season based off, albeit a limited sample size, but based off of his NFL experience. But I wouldn't even read too much into that. I wouldn't even make that assumption at this point, because they haven't played a preseason game. Right. We will know a hell of a lot more sitting next week at this time about the quarterback competition than we do right now.
Well, and my concern is, or question is, what if the Rattler starts Sunday? He does kind of what he's done in training camp and in the scrimmage. He goes and plays a quarter, maybe into the second quarter, three drives, and he is saying, 7 of 12 for like 96 yards, no touchdowns. Drives into 2 field goals out of the 3 drives he has. Maybe an interception. Okay. Chuck comes in with the 2s. Got a few 1s sprinkled in there, but there's no Shaheed, there's no Olave, there's no Cooks out there.
Offensive line.
Yeah. You have like Banks out there, you have Penning out there, but Will Clapp's at center. So they got some backup sprinkled in there too. But Chuck goes, say, 7 of 8, takes the team down the field for 1 touchdown, a couple stalled out drives. And the touchdown drive was really based off of a broken play where he scrambles and runs for like 35, 40 yards to get him into the red zone. Okay. Then who's winning this competition? Okay, who's really winning this? Because Shuck got a touchdown, Rattler didn't, but Rattler got maybe more completions, or Rattler was playing with the ones, Shuck was playing with the twos. We've got another week, Jacksonville the following week. Then you might see Shuck start that game, Rattler go with the twos, and they do an evaluation off of that. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, in that game, Rattler looked good with the twos, Shuck looked terrible with the ones. Then what do you do? Who's winning the competition? I mean,
nobody.
That's the reality of this, because are they looking at overall results? Yes, but what does Moore keep saying over and over and over again? It's about a process. It's about how do you respond to adversity. What happens? Then you throw an interception. So what's your next pass? What's your next decision? Are you gun shy after that? Do you just go right back at it? Do you have amnesia when it comes to those kind of plays, which is what you're looking for in a quarterback? That kind of thing. So there's a whole bunch of different things that are getting evaluated at a time. And we're not, to me, I don't think we're going to see this clear-cut winner, Rattler playing with the ones or the twos, driving down the field, scoring touchdowns, whereas Shuck is playing with the ones and the twos, and he either doesn't get a score going, or, if the offense stalls, he struggles, looks like a deer in the headlights. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to have good and bad on both of them.
Yeah, and you would expect them to. I mean, they're both still extremely young players. With questionable receiving depth, no offensive line depth, and a running game that's probably going to take some time to develop. The bottom line is this, and you know this, Alan. In the scenario that you just painted, where Rattler goes 7 for 12, maybe throws a pick, but leads the team to a field goal or two. The coaches and the smarter members of the media and fan base are not going to look at the raw numbers. They're going to look at, how did those incompletions happen? Were they poor throws? Did Spencer get, no pun intended, did Spencer get rattled under pressure? Is he throwing receivers open? Are those completions being made down the field, hitting the receivers in stride, or do the receivers have to adjust to poorly thrown balls? And then on the flip side, ignoring Shuck's numbers, does he look utterly clueless out there? Or is he showing signs of development? Those are the things that the more educated members of the fan base and media should be looking at, and the coaches, I would certainly believe, will be looking at. And and having said all that, the quarterback competition, because of Tyler Shuck's draft status, the quarterback competition most likely depends on Shuck more so than Rattler. If Shuck looks utterly clueless in week 1, he still may get the start in week 2, but it's more likely that he doesn't. But if it's the most likely scenario of what you mentioned about both quarterbacks having understandably promising, but also understandable moments where they struggle, then you're going to see Shuck get the start in week 2, Rattler come in with the twos, and then sort of a reevaluation process before they finish up their preseason against Denver in late August.
Yeah, and I think it's important for Kellen Moore to evaluate both quarterbacks and to feel good about both quarterbacks out there, because they're probably going to play the bulk of the season. This is going to be a season where you will see two different quarterbacks out there, and it's going to be frustrating. It's going to drive people crazy, but this is what happens in a rebuild. I'm old enough to remember fans complaining about throwing quarterbacks out there too soon and them being declared a bust because they're not playing with very good talent. This team has still a lot of holes. All the receivers, any receivers 4 through 6, that's a mystery box there. Mason
Yeah.
Tipton is leading everybody. And we saw this last year. Mason Tipton looked awesome. So good. Fan favorite A.T. Perry got cut in favor of him. And then when he got out in the regular season, he disappeared. We don't know who the running back is going to be behind Alvin Kamara. Kamara's not playing Sunday. So is it and Devin Neal just injured his hamstring, so he won't be available Sunday. So, you're looking at Cam Akers, you're looking at Clyde Hilaire, you're looking at the kid, the kick returner. I can't think of his name right now.
Marcus Yarns.
Yeah, Yarns getting an opportunity at running back. Maybe he's a third down back. They're going to see what he can do. Yes. Salvadori was just placed on IR. They brought back Shane Lemieux.
Okay.
Is it? No, what's his real name? It's not Shane Lemieux. It's not the hockey player from the Penguins.
It actually is. You're thinking Mario Lemieux.
Mario Lemieux. That's right.
I chuckled at the Shane Lemieux because really we're still scraping the bottom of the bed. Below the barrel. This is the pond scum at the bottom end on the outside of the barrel. That you just brought in.
Yeah. And this is a body for depth. He may not even make the team. They've got a little more depth than they had last year, but that's not saying much. But you still need to have guys for second and third string out there for preseason. And it sounds like Salvadori may have a career-threatening injury. It sounds like it's really bad on his leg. So, once again, frustrating news about that draft class. The guys we were talking about last week when we were talking about Isaiah Foskey and Kendre Miller and Salvadori and all these guys needing to make an impact. Well, he's already gone. Cam Jordan's comments aside, Isaiah Foskey has done nothing in this camp. He's been an invisible man. This was a defense that's supposed to help make him a player.
Yeah. And
he isn't producing. In fact, I made the comment on social media that, for all the fans that are critical for taking pass rushers or defensive ends from small schools and offensive linemen from places like Northern Iowa, and taking these guys in the first round, here you took a guy, the all-time leading pass rusher, sack man from Notre Dame, not a little nobody school, but Notre Dame, and he's a bust, clear bust, and this was somebody who checked every box. Athletic. He was ranked as one of the top pass rushers in that draft class, and he looks like a complete bust. And it's for all the talk of, well, we could have drafted somebody else instead of Shuck. You probably would have drafted Isaiah Foskey.
Yeah.
You think you're going to draft somebody really good. You're going to name all these players, but it's entirely possible you draft just another Isaiah Foskey or Stanley Jean-Baptiste or someone like that in the second round. Don't assume that there was somebody better they were going to take. Bob, you and I were looking at the draft, doing the draft live, and third round, we had two players highlighted. Saints didn't take either one of them, even though they were on the board. So I'm just not a guy that's going to sit there and say, well, they could have had him. They should have taken this guy. It's just not going to work out that way. So that's enough about the negative ones. I do want to get back to your question about Kellen Moore in the second hemisphere, but this is a good one too. Guys that are having good training camps. Stutzman, that's my boy. I've been talking him up since mid-March, it feels like.
I've been talking up the other 4th-round pick, Quincy Riley. He's having a terrific camp. And he's doing so a lot against the ones. Shaheed, Alave. Before Jawan Johnson went down. Even against the tight end, Jawan. And not going to anoint anyone as the next great thing yet. So I'm willing to cool my jets on both Stutzman and Riley, but man, they're both really impressive. If you could hit on both those 4th-round picks, that drastically changes your defensive outlook for the immediate future. All of a sudden, you're younger, you're faster. And then maybe they have a player in Sanker or Brockton, one or both of the 3rd-round picks. Jordy Hultberg and I were talking about this morning. They had 4 picks in the 3rd and 4th rounds, 4 picks combined in those 2 rounds. If you could hit on 3 of them, because all of them were defensive players, if you could hit on 3 of them, again, that drastically and immediately changes your defensive outlook, and I would be loving life.
Well, I had said on draft night that it was like the Saints made a deliberate effort to upgrade their run defense. And they took players who seemed to be thumpers, guys that were going to be run stoppers. And, you think about this secondary. Last year, our secondary was Lattimore. He was still a starter, even though he was hurt. But Lattimore, the Honey Badger, Will Harris, and Paulson Adebo. All 4 are gone now. We may be looking at, and Kool-Aid McKinstry is having an awesome camp. He is looking like what you wanted out of a cornerback that was going to be the guy to replace Lattimore. But now you're looking at Kool-Aid McKinstry, Justin Blackham, Jordan Reed, and let's just say for the sake of argument, Quincy Riley. He gets the start at corner. It's an entirely new secondary, an entirely different secondary. How are you feeling about this secondary as I just laid it out?
I'd feel very good about it. It's younger, significantly younger.
Absolutely.
I would expect, some bumps, some speed bumps, coverage breakdowns due to communication issues, because that's what happens between safeties and cornerbacks. But I would also expect a secondary to hopefully gel pretty quickly. Particularly when if they're all able to stay healthy and get those reps together, and as a result, a secondary that's going to be able to make some plays. I mean, Reed and Blackman have always been, turnover machines. Riley looks like a terrific, a player with terrific ball skills. And we know that Kool-Aid is a hell of an athlete. Not great ball skills, but he'll athletically match up and physically match up with any receiver he's put against. So yeah, I mean, on paper, I'd be excited about this secondary. But again, folks, let's not anoint them as the Legion of Boom. There are going to be some growing pains because that's just what happens when a secondary grows together.
And Chase Young's been having a good camp too. Now, we've all said Chase Young is a guy, he's a first-round pick. Can he be a closer? Can he get his coffee? Because coffee's for closers. We all know this. He's got to be a closer. He's got to make the sack, and it's more than just getting to a quarterback, tapping the shoulders and sack, because of the no-contact jersey. You've got to actually bring a guy down. And we've seen Chase Young get to somebody and fail to bring them down. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this team. If this team, the defense seems to be ahead of the offense all of training camp so far. If this team can have a defensive-minded team where our defense is winning games or keeping us in the game, especially this first 4 or 5 games, that will be a good thing when it comes to the growth of these quarterbacks, because you're not forcing Rattler or Shuck to play in a shootout where we're undermanned for a shootout. You're going to have a defense that can make other teams keep it close. We're keeping it close. They're going to be able to hang around, and in the fourth quarter, we might be able to make a play or so. I'm be extremely excited if that's the case. If the first four games are games that are like 21, 24, 31 points that they're allowing, and the offense can score, right there with them. They're losing close games. They're not getting blown out, or they're winning close games, that kind of stuff. That would be a huge step forward, because that first four games are the toughest games in the schedule.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, like you said, it quietly builds, not only your quarterback's confidence, but the confidence of everybody on the offensive side, because the chances are that they're not making the mistakes that cost you football games. Because if the defense is keeping you in ball games, then you can be a little bit more conservative on the offensive side, and you can play for field position, or you could give up or forego a fourth round gamble, or even a third and long gamble, because you're in field goal position. Hey, let's just play for the 3 points, and let the defense do its job. But having said that, and I would be happy with that equation, very happy. But that's also asking a defense that was very bad most of all of last year, and even most of the year before. That's asking a defense to take leaps and heads and shoulders leaps above where they were.
And I'm just curious to see if that's what happens. It on paper, and what we've seen so far in camp, that looks like they have the ability to do that. It's just a question now of, can you do it when you're playing against another team?
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, I would be perfectly happy if the Saints start out a kind of a boring team that wins close games with a defense and a kicking game, much like Jim Mora did. Blake Grupe, we haven't even mentioned him, but Blake Grupe is having an incredible camp. So much so, he's not even kicking half the days, and most of the days it's all Charlie Smythe kicking. Then, he goes out there and does 10 for 10, and they're like, yeah, well, that's good enough. You're good for the week. We'll let Charlie try these kicks for the rest of this week, see if he can get a job somewhere else. But we know already that he's got this locked up, which is amazing, because 2 years ago, everybody's like, oh, we kept the wrong guy. Will Lutz should have been the guy we kept. What the hell? Why we keep this little kicker and stuff like that? Well, this is why you kept him. He has grown. I don't want to jinx the poor guy, because I want him to be successful. But yeah, so far he's having an incredible camp. I don't know if you saw this or not, Bob, but the Saints signed a tight end today from the 49ers. They awarded this guy off of waivers. I know nothing about this guy other than the fact that he played basketball. Yeah, let me see. I just saw the news.
He played basketball. He's a power forward type of player.
Yeah.
Played at Furman, if I'm not mistaken. And that's about all I know about him too. I didn't have a chance to do a whole lot of research. Because the news came down relatively quickly.
I'm trying to find it on my Saints app, and it's next to impossible to find. He was just awarded to the Saints off of waivers from the 49ers. Here it is. His name is Mason Pline.
Yes.
They waived Seth Green, so no Cha-Ching, no what was that show he did? The with the animated dolls. It was on
something chicken.
yeah,
Was it
Robot
just
Chicken.
yeah?
Robot Chicken, yeah. Yeah, Pline is 6'7", 260. Son is a undrafted free agent by the 49ers following the 2024 draft out of Furman. Yep. 15 weeks in the practice squad. So he has yet to really catch a pass in the NFL. He played his one season in football with the Furman. I'm sorry. He played 5 seasons at Ferris State and one with Furman. His lone season with the Furman Paladins, he played all 13 games, finished with 32 receptions, 287 yards, and 4 touchdowns before transferring to Furman. Pline played both basketball and football at Ferris State. So,
okay. The only question I have about all that is, what the hell is a paladin?
A paladin? That is a character actually in the Marvel universe, Marvel Comics universe. He was a gun for hire, so I bet you a paladin is like that. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. No, it's a character in Dungeons and Dragons. Even better.
Okay.
But he was also a character in Marvel Comics too. He was a gun for hire in Marvel. So that's what I know. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I've been paying attention to the chat here. Hemisphere says the only thing, in his opinion, about depending on the run game is when teams force the Saints to throw the ball wide receivers and tight ends. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's always a fear because, and that's why it's so important to become a defensive team at this point, because at least then your defense can protect your quarterback, doesn't make you go into a shooting match, because this team is not built for shootouts right now.
No.
Yeah, they will be exposed. You're right. Yeah, so, and the fact that they signed this guy off of waivers from the 49ers tells you, they're really desperate to find a tight end. Again, Noah Fant got signed last week. They just have not made tight end a priority. I know everybody's talking about Mason Taylor from LSU. They should have signed him, and all these, should have drafted him. All these things, but it's just there's just not enough picks. Honestly, they needed a lot of picks in the second round. That was my opinion going into the draft to get the kind of guys that you needed to make an impact. So it's a process. It's going to be a couple of years it's going to take to get all these pieces. All these pieces in here. So, Bob, who else has had a good training camp that's kind of surprised you so far? I mean, we ran through some names, but throw some names out there and people haven't been paying that much attention to.
The anti-Foskies. Edge rushers, Fadil Diggs, the 7th-round choice from Syracuse, and Jasheen Davis, the undrafted rookie from Wake Forest. I'm not saying they should be camp darlings. I'm not handing them spots on the team just yet. And I'm not even saying they're playing lights out, but they're making plays. The only reason Isaiah Foskey is being talked about at all is because we're talking about how the fact that we're not talking about Isaiah Foskey. That's it. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know he's on the roster. Diggs and Davis, both really tall, athletic guys. And they're showing that athleticism. They're showing good burst around the tackle or tight end, depending on whether they're playing strong or weak side. And they're showing nice burst to the quarterback. So I'm really anxious to see these guys in action once the 2s and the 3s hit the field on Sunday against the Chargers. Diggs and Davis are two guys I'm keeping an eye on. You mentioned Mason Tipton. Velas Jones. Again, not a player, and he's been around. He's been in the league a few years. Kind of taken what what was the guy that played for the Falcons as a kick returner a couple years back, and a running back, converted wide
Cordell
receiver.
Patterson?
Yes. Velas Jones came into the league from Tennessee, so he could fly as a wide receiver, and they're kind of converting him to running back now. I think he might even be listed on the Saints depth chart as a running back and not a wide receiver. Velas is making a few plays in space. And I'm anxious to see what he and Yarns, the undrafted rookie back from Delaware, not only what they're going to do when they get onto the field, but how they're going to be used. How Kellen Moore, how Doug Nussmeier is going to use them, Quincy Riley. You mentioned Jordan Howden. A guy who third year safety who I've really soured on. He's been having some good practices. Really active, moving around very well. In making some instinctive plays as a deep safety. And if he can emerge and kind of find a niche that way, then the Saints safety position is potentially going to be a lot stronger than what I envisioned. Once they came into this offseason. These are some of the guys that are having maybe not consistently great practices, but they're throwing their names out there by making plays and having some solid days in a row.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to bring up next. I'm glad you brought these guys up. So the unofficial depth chart came out today. Of course, the interesting thing is at quarterback, they've got conjunction junction, what's your function listed. They've got Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck or Jake Hayner all listed at number 1. But your running backs, you just brought up Alvin Kamara for first string, Kendre Miller, Cam Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Velas Jones, who is listed next. Devin Neal was actually behind Jones, and now he'll be out with Marcus Yarns as the last guy on the running back chart. For the first time in I want to say ever, the Saints do not have a fullback listed on the roster. Not a one. Because, Sean Payton loved fullbacks. Hazlitt had fullbacks. And, of course, Jim Moore had Ironhead and Brad Muster and Buford Jordan. So he had running fullbacks. Bum Phillips definitely have fullbacks. So
Bum Phillips would have a team of fullbacks if he could get away with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, he would take guys and turn them into fullbacks. So Hokie Gajon was a fullback. Wayne Wilson was a fullback. So yeah, I mean, so before that, Tony Galbraith, two backs. We're talking now the 1970s, where the fullback was the primary back. By this time, so this has really been underreported, but yeah, this is the first time that the Saints have not had a fullback on this roster. Now, you might have a tight end play H-back at some point, but
yeah, and I actually expect that with either Jacobson or Stahl, if not both. Yeah.
So, but there's nobody who's just listed purely as a fullback on this team. They've got it pretty much lined up as 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end as this opening roster, because you've got Shaheed and Olave on the outside, Cooks in the slot. So behind Shaheed is Mason Tipton, behind Cooks is Cedric Wilson, behind Olave is Bub Means. Then Kevin Austin behind Bub Means, Dante Pettis in the slot, And then the person we have not heard anything from in training camp, Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's someone to
Yeah.
watch this Sunday. And then now we're getting to the bottom: Chris Tyree, Trayton Welch. I'm sorry, no, that's tight end. And Moochie Dixon. You know, I kind of want Moochie Dixon to at least make the practice squad, because I would love. This is if I'm the damn DJ playing in the Superdome, but I guarantee if he caught a pass, we would be playing Minnie the Moocher.
Oh, yeah.
In the dome, because I'd want the dome crowd to go hidey, 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 hidey.
Yep.
So I've watched the Blues Brothers way too many times. Classic movie. The tight end position's interesting. So Juwan Johnson may or may not play Sunday, but behind him is Jack Stahl, Michael Jacobson, who has been making some catches, and Trayton Welch, and then the rookie draft pick, Mulcahy Matavo. Is that? I think that's how you say his name.
I forgot all about him.
Yeah. Well, that shows you how little of an impact he's had.
Right.
Yeah. Tight ends gonna be a big challenge. I think Michael Jacobson, if anybody, Michael Jacobson is gonna be the guy who's gonna do anything on Sunday. The offensive lineman, by the time you get to the third string, that's gonna be a mess.
Shit. Second string. As soon as those starting five take a seat, I think it could get ugly.
Yeah, the second string of the offensive line: left tackle Landon Young, left guard Dylan Radnews, center Will Clapp, Shane Lemieux at right guard, and Josiah Israem. I think that's how you say his name. That's who's going to be the backup right tackle. And then, this is when it gets ugly. Barry Wesley, I've never even heard of these people. Torselli Simpkins, the third. So somebody named their kid Torselli 3 times. Okay. Torselli, I'm thinking of Carla from Cheers, Kyle Hergel, Eastern Kilty, Jonathan Mendoza. Yeah, that's the third string. That's when those guys come out, they expect a lot of penalties, a lot of sacks, a lot of, just ugly football. Defensively, though, that's going to be some interesting battles here. So, obviously, you have edge rushers: Carl Granderson, Chase Young. So Isaiah Foskey is listed at second string. Diggs is the third team on the pass rushing side. That's just on one end. So Granderson and Young, they've got on one side, which is interesting. The other side, the other edge rushers: Cam Jordan, Chris Rumpf, Jasheen Davis is the third stringer. Then the battle in the interior. They've got 2 defensive linemen in there: Davin Godshaw and Brian Brzee as the starters. Saunders and Shepard in second string. Boyd and Ridgway third string. Jonah Williams and Jonathan Bullard fourth, and then bring up the rear: Vernon Brockton and Omari Thomas. So Brockton's really buried in this list. Your linebackers, they only have 2 linebackers listed, inside linebackers: Werner and Davis, then Sewell and Jackson, Isaiah Stallbird and Danny Stutzman, third team. Fourth team: Jalen Ford and Tareem Powell. So Ford's pretty buried too. Those are the guys. By the time we get to the third preseason game, those are the guys that, if those guys aren't playing in the third preseason game, just leave your playbook at the stadium. because you're not on this team as probably within the next 12 hours. Cornerback right now, they have Yidam and Kool-Aid McKinstry as your starting corners, with Riley and Rico Payton backing those two up. Alante Taylor listed as a slot corner, with Ugo Amadi as his number one backup. Safeties, we already talked about Blackham and Reed. So Howden and Burgess are your backups for them. JT Gray and Jonas Sanker. And then Elliot Davison is on the tail end here. No big surprises out there other than guys that we were hoping to see something out of in training camp are kind of buried right now on the roster. Vernon Brockton, Jalen Ford, that's not good where they are right now.
No, but I mean, with a good performance on Sunday and a couple of good practices in a row, that could drastically change.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying going from preseason third string to starter, but I wouldn't rule them out, as far as roster spots altogether at this point. But if they're healthy and get very, very few snaps on Sunday, that's a little bit different story.
Yeah. And, special teams still matter. Even though the kickoff rules are insane right now, special teams do matter. That's how you're going to make the team on punt coverage and stuff. So, I don't have the jersey numbers on here, and that's not important right now, but those are some guys to watch for. What are some other things to look for this Sunday against the Chargers? Because the Chargers already played a game, and they look pretty damn good against the Lions in that Hall of Fame game.
I actually like the fact that they're playing a team like the Chargers, because Jim Harbaugh wants to play a physical brand of football. He wants to win games like we think the Saints are going to have to win games this year. Defense, ball control, run the football, be very, very physical. Well, all that is exactly what the Saints had a hard time doing last year. They couldn't stop the run. They could not match up physically with any of their opponents on either side of the football. So, like you said, the Chargers are going to test you because Harbaugh constructs his entire roster with that philosophy. I want to beat you up. I want big, strong, physical guys on both sides of the ball, not only in my trenches, but at my running back spot, at my tight end spot, even at my wide receiver spot. So they're going to physically challenge New Orleans from first string all the way down to garbage time. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. You pointed out several times that not just in the draft choices, but also in most of their free agent signings, the Saints. The one thing that stood out to us was that the fact that they appeared, except for a wide receiver, they appeared to want to get bigger and more physical. So how are the Saints from first string all the way down to fourth string? How are the Saints going to be able to match up physically against the Chargers? Because last year's team played the Chargers and got pushed all over the field all day long. I think the score is only like 24-8 or 26-8, but it never felt that close the entire afternoon. And I know you think the same way I do. You're going to pay zero attention to what the score is, but these are the kind of things that you're going to be watching. I know everybody else is going to be watching the quarterbacks. I am too, of course. But what kind of depth does this team have? Offensive line. Once those first stringers start to take a seat, are there going to be any standout linemen? Same thing with the defensive line. Are you going to be able to stop the run? Are you going to be able to pressure the passer and force some rush throws? The kind of things that we haven't been able to see in camp. Battles in the trenches. One-on-one battles on the edge between the tackles and the edge rushers. You're not this isn't going to be a two-hand touch game. So are your edge rushers going to be able to finish? Are your secondary members going to be able to going to be willing to try and make a tackle, Tyrann Mathieu?
Well, you don't know about him anymore. But
right. Yeah, so those are the kind of things that I'm going to be watching for on Sundays, Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. To echo what you're going to say, it's the trenches I'm watching most closely after the quarterbacks. Are they opening holes for the running backs? Are they getting to the second level? On defensively, are you winning the battle at the line of scrimmage? You know, are you getting pushed around? Are they gouging us for like 4 and 5 yards to carry? Those are things I'm gonna be watching. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the secondary and see if they can how they hold up against these receivers. By the way, Keenan Allen just signed with the Chargers
Yeah.
too. Um, Unlikely that he plays, but if he does, we'll see. I'll be surprised if he plays on Sunday. But
Me too.
I kind of got the impression he was going to be like Amari Cooper and he's going to retire, but I guess not. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be paying closest attention to is how does this team match up offensively and defensively in the trenches, because that's going to make or break the season. If they're getting pushed around in preseason games, that's not going to bode well for the regular season at all. Coverage sacks, I can deal with that. I can deal with, receivers struggling. I can deal with the penalties when the second and third teamers come in. But the defense, they have more veteran guys back there on that side of the ball. So they should be playing better than a lot of the young guys on offense.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be watching for. And then next week, they'll be in Los Angeles at UC Irvine, just like last training camp, for about a week. It's unfortunate they don't scrimmage with the Chargers again, but I think the weather is going to be productive for them to get more stuff done. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to not having every single play or every single pass the quarterbacks thrown all over social media. I know people want to see that and everything, but everybody lives and dies with an incompletion or a completion. It's just, we want to rebuild, but we really don't want to rebuild.
Yeah.
And it gets old. Bayou Blitz this week. What do you have coming up?
We're going Bayou Blitz tomorrow.
Okay.
Don't plan on having any guests, but I have some feelers out there, that might surprise and pop in. But whether or not Brendan and I are joined by anyone, we are going to be talking about specifically the second and third teamers that could really make a statement. And I'm not going to say solidify a roster spot after week one, but really make a statement for, okay, this is a name that's been flying under the radar or talked about very little. The kind of guys who could steal a veteran's job. The kind of guys that would make an Isaiah Foskey or a Jordan Howden if he starts playing poorly. Some of those guys that maybe should be worried too. The potential, the fringe starters or second teamers that might need to play well to hold on to a job too. So we're going to cover both sides of that coin.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Hemisphere. Real quick, last question of the night. Kellen Moore. What do you say about Kellen Moore as far as the way this camp is going? Does because Hemisphere says it has a different feel than the last 4 years combined. What do you think of Kellen Moore so far as his training camp and as a head coach?
It does have a different feel. But I mean, you were bound to get that. I like his organizational abilities for a guy that's been a coordinator his whole NFL life, which honestly has not been that long because he's still a young guy. So I mean, his overall experience as a coach can be doubted. I haven't heard too many people doubting it, but it can be. I'm surprised by his overall organizational abilities and willingness to delegate authority to the defensive side. Brandon Staley is basically the head coach on that side of the ball. He's not interfering. Kellen Moore is embracing embracing the fact that his strengths lie as an offensive coordinator. I also I didn't think about this until the first 4 or 5 practices were in the books, and I heard someone else mention it, that there's very little standing around.
No.
If the ones are going against the ones, the twos aren't standing around and watching. The twos are doing something, drill wise, like off to the side. So there's a lot of activity going on simultaneously. And you gotta love that, because it's keeping all. I'm not saying any of these guys are coming in out of shape. I don't believe that at all. But it's not allowing them to be stagnant, either physically or mentally. They got all the practices that I've been able to watch from afar, because my coverage from up here is via Zoom is limited, but I have noticed a very precisely run practice. I've been impressed so far.
That's going to be my quick answer on this, is that I'm impressed with how everything has a purpose. Here we're talking about the quarterback battle, and everybody's obsessed with the rotation, but even when Shuck is in with the thirds, he's doing developmental work. They're working with him one-on-one on certain things right there on the field. So that's what's impressive to me, is that these guys have a plan. They're executing a plan. Everything is deliberate. Nothing is like, okay, I don't know what else to do today. We still have 20 minutes left. No, everything is timed. They're going from drill to drill very cleanly. They've got a clear plan. We just haven't seen it all yet. And that's probably the most impressive thing about Moore, is I feel like, because we didn't talk about this, but during the scrimmage, that wasn't scripted plays. They called live. And they were testing themselves to see how well I can adjust to the game plan on the fly. And it seemed like they didn't ever get any communication problems. People were in and out of the huddle quickly. Everything is good. I just find him an impressive head coach. I really, really do. I will be surprised if this team gets outcoached. It may get beaten, but I'll be surprised if it gets outcoached this year, just because of the way things have progressing so far in training camp. I can echo everything that you said. I like this coaching staff, not just Moore, but again, Staley. And Staley has a lot of young, straight from college assistants. So you expect a little bit of unorganized activities on that side of the ball, especially with so many new faces at the twos, and the threes. And there's been very little of that. I've been, we talk about more, and rightfully so, but I've been just as impressed with the defensive assistants that I have the offense. A lot of teaching going on. And that's what the players are talking about. And I think we're seeing that when we're talking about Quincy Riley, when we're talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry having these good camps and taking a step forward. There's teaching going on that we haven't seen in a long time, and probably since the early days of Sean Payton's training camps, honestly. So Bayou Blitz tomorrow night. In the meantime, Saints Sunday. It is all these preseason games this year, all on Sundays, which is, I guess, kind of get you in that mindset, football Sunday again. I'm still not used to that, but football already. So we will talk about what happened in the preseason game. We will talk about the week in California and anything else that happens between now and next Tuesday. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time under the dome. Good night, everybody.